I don't get to come back to where I grew up very often in Ohio, and I definitely don't get to get out to eastern Ohio very often, as I'm from kind of more southwestern Ohio, and eastern Ohio is very rural and unpopulated, even more so than where I grew up. But Moonville has been on my bucket list for a long time. So I was traveling US 50, and it's not too far off the beaten path, but it's definitely off the beaten path location. We're gonna take a little hike down that path and learn about Moonville and see what they got here. Moonville is in Vinton County, Ohio, in the southeastern part of the state. In the mid-1800s, the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad was building through southeast Ohio to reach Cincinnati. Along the more remote sections of the route were several small towns, including the mining town of Moonville, mainly made up of two families, the Coes and the Fergusons. Nearby, the railroad company built two trestles over Raccoon Creek and a tunnel called Moonville Tunnel. Walking the tracks was incredibly dangerous and was made even more hazardous by the trestles and tunnel. One trestle stood less than 150 feet away from the tunnel. Over 21 people were killed on or near the tracks here. The last fatality was in 1978. By the turn of the century, the coal mines slowly started to be used up and closed down. The last family left in 1947, and the town was abandoned. By the 1960s, all the buildings were gone, and there was little left other than a cemetery, the tunnel, and some foundation stones. With the town gone, the train traffic continued to increase on the single-track line. In 1973, the B&O merged with the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway and the Western Maryland Railway to form the Chessie system. Train traffic doubled with as many as 14 trains passing through per day. In June 1985, it was announced the line between Maryland and Cincinnati would be reduced to secondary status, and the last scheduled freight train passed through Moonville in August of 1985. Trains continued to run until the line was totally abandoned and the rails pulled up. In 1988, the area is now the Moonville Rail Trail. The legends of the Moonville Tunnel include several tales of ghosts that allegedly still haunt visitors to this day. The legends include 4 different ghosts. The first one is the engineer. The ghost of Theodore Lawhead, an engineer for the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad Company, began to haunt the tracks after his train collided head-on with an oncoming train in the 1880s. Visitors have seen a ghostly figure holding a lantern while walking alongside the track through the tunnel. The brakeman is believed to be the ghost of a drunken young man who was working on a train as a brakeman. The young man consumed too much liquor one night and fell asleep on the tracks. Visitors of the tunnel have seen a thin, elderly woman walking alongside the trail. Shortly after, she disappears, and the scent of lavender fills the air, and she's known as the Lavender Lady. It's believed to be Mary Shea, who was killed on the tracks at the far end of the tunnel. The final one is the Bully, believed to be the ghost of Moonville resident Baldy Keaton. The legend says that Baldy was a man that liked to fight when he got drunk. One of his tactics was to bear hug his opponent. When Baldy was at the saloon, he decided to fight, and a group of men kicked Baldy out. Later, he was found dead on the tracks. Many believe it was murder. The legend says his ghost stands above the tunnel and stares at approaching visitors. He will sometimes throw pebbles. Mothers would tell their children not to stay out at night or else the bully would get them. There's a Halloween and ghost-themed festival known as Midnight at Moonville, located on the old railroad bed in the tunnel each year. The Moonville Rail Trail is 10 miles long, and if you keep going down the trail, you'll eventually come to another bridge. There's some information on the sign here, but it's really hard to make out what it is. Looks like that might be haunted as well. But what's interesting on this bridge, obviously it's been redone, but as you can see kind of on the outside, there's the original bridge. So it's kind of neat to be able to see the old bridge with the new bridge. And as you walk around the side, there's a better view of the old bridge. Once you get back from your walk on the trail, stop by Captain Pappy's. Can't beat a hot dog for $1.50 or a hamburger for $2. So the trail's back that way. Coming out. I'm gonna go up here. There's supposed to be a cemetery up that way. It was interesting to walk around this cemetery, and as you can see, it's very small. Not very many headstones here. I don't know if all the headstones represent how many people are buried here, but there's maybe a dozen or 15 or something like that. But it tells a little bit of the story, a little bit of the history of Moonville. And even though there's not much left of the town, the cemetery and especially the tunnel give visitors a couple things to check out. And then the legends and the haunted stories make it kind of a unique place to visit. So definitely glad I was able to visit Moonville. Has been on my bucket list ghost towns to visit for a long time, and it didn't disappoint. Really enjoyed visiting Moonville.